because if you go like a roller coaster up and down in results, you're less confident, you're less certain, and it can lead to a bad road.
I mean, consistency is the name of the game, Imperium, going into this. But I'm seeing a few drops here coming out. I'm seeing one in particular that's actually grabbing a little bit of my attention. That's TSM Entity. Going for a drop in Yasnaya, but they're going to be contested early on by Reject Scarlet. That is not a drop in location, which these two teams normally share in favor, so I'm interested to see how this fight might break out, but you can have already two teams in this compound.
I was just going to say, Yasna, you can hold to even three teams if you're one on the edge. It'd be like a tin of sardines, but you can get them. But Reject Scarlet normally land in Primorsk, and it's not like the playing path wasn't towards Primorsk, right, Max? Yeah. It was in that direction, but Reject Scarlet trying to mix things up a little bit. Maybe they realize that they need to be a little bit more aggressive, and part of being more aggressive is landing a little bit more central to where the circle might be or the map might be. And we have noticed, in my eyes, that most of the circles have been on the east of the map. So landing closer to the center is always going to benefit you.
If that was their mindset, I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Because their team going always towards Primorsk, as you just mentioned, they always struggle to get himself in circle in valuable positions, always playing the edge. And I think their team to excel when they have a central and most aggressive position. So I think that here, going for Yasnaya might reward them in the long run. So it's really interested to see how things might come into play here. But also one thing we need to talk about, that river.
Yes.
Sentis came into action already a lot throughout the entirety of PMWL. That might also be the case here.
It's also something to think about, the fact that the Phase 1 circle did complement the playing path. So straight off the bat, when you look at the center of this Phase 1, you already have in their drop spots Valdez, King of Gamers, T1, Reject Scarlet, TSM Entity, even Orange Rock as well on the west side of basically by Watertown. And of course, even looking up north, Udo Gank in Severely all under Lonesome. And I feel that if Udo can send one player scouting forward by the edge of the river, they'll be able to gather a lot of information that will benefit them coming into the next couple of circles, because they're pretty much the only team on the north of the river in this Phase 1.
What they usually like to do is send a scout actually further down south towards the area of Roswell, gather information on teams that might try and rotate across. I think it's a little bit of a risky play because you do take the chance of losing a player early on, but also one position that I like overall in this game is Megastars. They went for the area towards Kameshki up north on the eastern side compared to going to Novo, and even though they have like those two drops, they like to split every once in a while. Here's going to be actually really good in their favor because they're just in circle right off the bat and they don't have to go for big early rotations across a bridge.
Galaxy Racer Cells landed in their usual spot. Milta, easy peasy lemon squeezy. They are a team that in my eyes have been overall across every single day of the PMWL pretty consistent. We saw in the league days they were very consistent with their results. In the first day of the Super weekend, they started very strongly, getting a 19-point game, a 10-point game, and an 8-point game. They did end on a slightly lower note of 2 5-point games, but at the end of the day, in my eyes, the consistency is still there, and I feel like they can come into today, tomorrow, very confident with how they're going to perform.
With a bang. I mean, they got no chicken dinners right now, right? And they got himself in 6th position. So far, I think that with no chicken dinners in 6th position, that's great value right there. So I hope that definitely if they do get a chicken dinner, they could try and climb up even potentially to that top 3 spot, which could be huge for Cells.
Now, I do want to talk about the elephant in the room, Max, right? The elephant in the room. Like wow.
Wow, I feel offended.
I don't want to insult elephants like that, man.
What? Okay.
Anyway.
Get out of here.
Talking about the elephant in the room, TSM Entity. Bottom of the barrel, last place, 13 points in 5 games yesterday. And here's the thing, right? It's not like they securely got through to the Super weekend, right? They've struggled right from the start. They've yet to find their mark. They've yet to find their place. I gotta think, in your eyes, like, what do you think is causing that?
I think it's just really the lobby is really high tier, right? And I think that they are feeling confident on what they were able to win, PMPL and all their past events. And I feel that they haven't tried to improve in a certain way, and they've been really stuck in their past playstyle. If they can try and improve on that way and try and maybe do VOD review, which I'm sure they do, but just really work on that a little bit more, I think that could push them in the right direction. They had a bad day yesterday. Hopefully today will be the one to try and, get back in the overall standings.
To be perfectly honest, they need to when you really think about it, because the points gathered from the Super weekend carry on over to the next week and to the week after that. So league gameplay, they can struggle to get in, but on the Super Weekend, they have to make those points count. But either way, we see King of Gamers disengaging away from school after looting it up. Most of the teams are basically inside or around the circle right now. The only two teams that are kind of outside are Team Seeker, No Chance Team, and Team IND.
As you talk about Team Seeker, I'm actually really happy of them rotating this early on towards the bridge next to George Paul. Reason why? They team to rotate pretty late from the area around Gaka Fields, right? And that always comes and hurts them a little bit. They might lose 1-2 members along the way. Here, they already sent 2 members forward in the circle to make sure that 2 other members that left behind in Gaka Fields can get an easy entry point into the circle. I think that's an improvement on what we've seen so far from Team Secret. They tried new strats yesterday, didn't quite work out. Hopefully today will be the day for them.
T1 on a little bit of a 2-2 split, which I think is really valuable where they are currently located, because you have 2 on the high ground open area overlooking a lot of the area by the bridge, by the rivers, and of course near Rosshock. And then you have 2 members inside the compound, so you have that level of security and safety. So if there's a little bit of an early engagement, they can go, okay, we'll join up in the compound as a full squad. So T1 setting themselves up pretty nicely in this early game.
I mean, that spot gives you 360 visibility on everything around you, up north, east, west, south, everything that you want. You're going to have information on it, which is great, especially next to the river. We talked about it. Might come into play. Those positions are going to be extremely rewarding for the entirety of this game. Seen a few teams also pulling off their rotations. No Chance Team is going to be one of them, but no team's really playing the edge of the circle this time around, which you like to see. That means that most teams, even those that are not really in circle, like Bigatron, No Chance Team, and also Team IND, they shouldn't have too much of an issue to just slip their way through into Phase 1 circle.
Megastars, you kind of talked about them earlier in terms of their position. They're one of the teams who have kind of rotated to the north of the river, just by the little bit of the edge, basically outside Yasna and Pollyanna. They're a team which I worry about coming into today, because every single day so far, they will start off with a bang, get a strong result, maybe one other decent one, but they will fall so flat, it's not even funny in the remaining games of that day. Their consistency is probably one of the worst, if not the worst, in the top 10-12.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit harsh sometimes, but that's because we care, Imperium. We care about their results. We want them to do well. Just like TSM Entity, as we see on our screens over here, giving information over to Sadon of T1. They got intel, but these are 2 compounds, so you can't really take really big fights against each other, and it's not really easy to cross over, so that's going to be a very passive fight just of information.
Because this Phase 1 complemented the playing path, you're going to see more kind of pocket shots coming out between these 2 teams to try and create that space. I do disagree with TSM Entity kind of still somewhat, I'm not going to say rotating, but sending one member out. It's kind of like you've got to kind of pick your spot and hold on to for the early parts. If you're going to kind of split drop, do that early. Split rotate, do that early. But either way, Phase 2 about to show up.
I'm seeing a box and No Chance of Down South having a little bit of information coming up there, but here it is, the circle of Phase 2 is going to be pretty central. Yasnai, Pollyanna going to be still in the vicinity with Rosshock also, and School. We'll have another urban finish that we've had already so many, it's not even funny. Imperium might just happen once again, but really, I'm seeing a box fight down here. As I say that we're going to be panning over to actually a box fight with RRQ Athena, but I'm seeing also box, they've got 2 members, one on the high ground a little bit above them. That's going to be Break right then a distance, but they got information, he's going to try and move by, but RRQ will not be able to find those shots.
So this is probably one of the toughest circle shifts for Team IND. They rotated away late from military base, and now they're going to find it a little bit harder. But Box Gaming, hoping they wouldn't get spotted. No Chance Team found them, and that's going to be that simple as that. An early kill for No Chance Team. No Chance Team, they struggled overall yesterday. They're currently lying in I think it's like 13th or it's 12th actually, in fairness. And they only really had one strong game, which was game 1 in Erangel. But then they followed up with 3-3, 4-4. That's unprecedented, because coming right from the opening weekend, they look to be very strong.
I mean, we call them like the dark horse, right, of the entire tournament so far, and we are expecting some really good results going into this first Super Weekend, as now Reject Scarlet and TSM Entity going to get really close by. I like the fact that TSM Entity, they didn't really want to hold to a compound in the middle of field because it's hard to rotate from those primary locations, so they tried to look for a better location a little bit higher up north, which I do enjoy that. But Reject Scarlet going to be close by. A few shots will be exchanged, but nothing connecting as of yet.
Also, I've noticed that Reject are taking out the tires of the vehicles that TSM currently have occupied, which is a really accurate thing for them to do. But shots between T1 and Orange Rock as Orange Rock rotate towards the garage by the river bed. setting themselves up nicely, somewhat in towards the center part of the circle, but it's very hard to actually hold around that garage area, simply being because even though you have that fencing around, that little gap in the bottom, if you're not too careful, you can get your feet popped off from there.
You could definitely get yourself in a pretty bad spot. But the reason why also TSM Entity moved, if they stayed for so long, Orange Rock would be another team to have an angle on their compound, right? So it's good that they just slipped their way out of that one very early on, as T1 still gathering information. Marvi, the man with the golden hand, is going to be scouted by that one player. Got to be careful and try and get them back together. A few rotations still coming out, especially on the west. That's going to be Team IND coming around and getting himself in circle.
I said it was going to be tough for them to rotate in, and they're making such an intelligent play, realizing that most of the teams would be on the south of the river, right? So if they send themselves up and towards the north side, they'll be able to get in safely, securely, and also get a pocket of information because they were one of the latest teams to rotate into the circle, so they can't be guaranteed where other teams are around them. So very intelligent rotation by Team IND, led by their IGL Kratos.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because UD is like the only northern team on our angle. There's no really big point of contestment up there. So like, okay, no teams like to go up north. We're going to rotate from there. Makes a lot of sense. Anyways, Phase 2 circle is about to close up, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see where it's going to be taking us as UD still holding on to those pinpoint locations we mentioned earlier, around the water, around the river, and they're gathering information on Orange Rock, T1, and also TSM Entity.
We are 12 minutes in. We've only lost one player.
We lost Loki.
63 players still in the lobby. This is the definition of a passive early game, of course, heavily aided by the playing path complementing the early circles.
I mean, also it's Loki that died. Like, he's like in Avengers Loki, even though he's dead, he's never really dead, so we can still say we got a full lobby in a way. But here it is, Circle's going to be going dead center once again. Yes, now Pollyanna. A few teams could play on it, but we mentioned this many, many times in Imperium as we cast. Don't go inside, yes, now Pollyanna. Play on the edge of it. That is your pinpoint location you want to play around.
Reject, Scarlet, TSM all find themselves, in my opinion, very strong compounds, but of course, you could see a team or two crash around there as Box Gaming. Looking to cook up a grenade, but shots being fired out, catches out Zuxi. That's going to be initial knockdown for breakup Box Gaming. We saw him Vikendi yesterday. He was a sneaky man himself in the late game. Can he at least be a little bit sneakier by securing a kill and stop BTR in their tracks for now?
That clock is now ticking for Zuxi. Bigatron, you got to do a move if you want to try and save his life. Break is holding that position. I mean, if you got a Box Gaming move, of course it's going to be from Break, the man himself. As also RRQ, Athena going for a little bit of high ground position onto King of Gamers Club. King of Gamers getting himself into the car. I feel like they do want to rotate from that location. They don't want to get really pinpointed down in the field location.
But there's a lot of teams down the southern tip of the circle, right? We saw Box Gaming, BTR, there's King of Gamers, RQ, and No Chance Team. So 5 teams trying to fight their way in towards the fields of Yasna and Box Gaming are making their way in, along with the side of King of Gamers. There's a little bit of a Mad Max moment as the Phase 3 shrunk quite centrally.
Yeah, well, the teams you just mentioned right there, they're going to try and rotate their way through the southern field of Yasnai Pollyanna. Going to try and find a nice location. I'm seeing that Break has found the compound for himself, but Bigatron, they were able to get that res back up for one of their allies, and now they're going to take a fight on that mountaintop as we have the replay coming out of when Loki died. Like in quotes, because Loki never dies.
In spirit, he doesn't die, but in the game of PUBG Mobile, he did.
In the movies, he doesn't die.
So, No Chance Team, they're kind of staving off the pressure of BTR. They've traded a couple of knocks, Choco X with the M16, popping off a couple of shots. They are outside the circle. At the blue zone of Phase 3, it's closing its way in. No Chance Team are actually going to go into the blue zone and wrap around on the east or the northeast. It's a very clever, wise choice to come through.
I like the response coming out from T1 here. Valdez, they push for the plateau pretty central in the position. And because you had a 2-2 split coming out from T1, you mentioned earlier, like, okay, we're just going to retreat. We're not quite ready to take a 2-4 fight versus Valdez. Going to get all of our members in that one compound. I like the response. It's very passive, but it's also very respectful, which we are expecting from a Korean team.
Look, at the end of the day, this is a game of survival, right? This is a game of getting towards the end. The golden 20-point chicken dinner. Yes, you want to be aggressive within reason to push teams back, but you don't always need to get 8 to 10 kills in the early parts of the game like the likes of RQ. If it fits it in the moment, go for it. But now as BTR, they do a similar rotation to No Chance Team, but because they did a little bit quicker, inside the circle. They've actually gotten there before, no chancey, but now on the edge of Yasna, it's going to be Synergy protecting their base, protecting their home, and pushing BTR right in towards the city. But the next phase actually shifted to the east. Are we going to see a Yasna Pollyanna finish?
Yasna Pollyanna finish are one of the most insane potential finishes you can ask for on Erangel Imperium is insane, but here it is. That's going to be Strider of Synergy. Get information onto Bigatron. Luxy will go down, unfortunately for them, but that is fine. They're still remaining as a 3-man army, but now Strider, he's left alone. He doesn't have the assistance of his team, and he'll have to try and take this 1v3 versus Bigatron, which is never a good thing to do.
It's never a good thing, but I gotta give credit to BTR to rotate so heavily like that in the last 30 seconds and only lose one player does say a lot. But now as Strider jumps down from the building, he does get knocked down from the middle of the air by the hands of BTR. Ted, Jigsaw, and Servi, where are you guys? You gotta provide that level of cover, that level of support. But of course, they will have to let that man go down and keep themselves down to 3 players.
I do believe Synergy should have followed on that move a little bit behind Bigatron, because they knew that they had tried it. It was just completely left alone on the open, and they should have tried to help that a little bit more, but it did not happen. That'll be a one-on-one trade-off between Bigatron and also Synergy. T1, they just get information, but they're getting central inside the compound.
I worry about that.
I'm a little bit scared of that, because if you do have a really hard shift away from the compound, they're going to be one of the first teams taking really big casualties.
We are seeing on the kill feed the RQ are doing RQ things, taking out a player or two outside the circle. Hey, look, when it goes against them, they're going to frag their way in. You do gank also going for a hard shift around the north of the river, but they have Team Seeker, Team IND, Reject Scarlet, and Megastars all pretty much in front of them, basically on the northern edge of the circle. Of course, Yasna Pollyanna, such a vast area, such a heavy amount of buildings. If you can find that pocket spot that you can play around, you can lead yourself to a very strong result. We saw on the opening weekend in a kind of city finish, it helped and benefited the likes of Celts. So can they make it count here?
God, let's give me some good Car 98 action, baby. Does not connect on the first one. Might get a few nice shots to follow suit. But one interesting fact about Yasna Pollyanna, right, is that all these buildings have big cross-sections between it. If you want to cross from building to building, it's not that easy. You do have to put some resources. You have to pop some utility, smokes, grenades, mollies to make sure you can cross over to that other building.
Box Gaming taking advantage of a rotating Valdez through the field. And all the while, Celts getting a couple of kills along the way onto the members of Orange Rock. Orange Rock trying to hold on. You have no chance of managing to find a building inside the northern tip of Yasnaya with 2 members left, but Valdez get eliminated. That was always going to be a bit of a risk when they were coming in through the fields on the south.
They did take a chicken dinner today. The first game of today will not be going in their favor, unfortunately, but that's fine, as you do. They were able to rotate through Team Secret, and now they're in the northern side of Yasnaya Pollyanna. But they're going to be a big point of contestment, as you do going to get pushed by Paradox of Megastars as they pick up their very first kill of this game, Imperium.
Megastars look to be mega inside Yasnaya. Excuse the terrible pun, but you still gotta be careful, because inside those buildings, there's so many windows that you could easily get third-partied. We saw it in Hacienda in the Miramar game yesterday. It's definitely very easily possible to get third-party, so the teams have to be extremely careful.
Some utility will be coming out of also, of course, UD, because they make sure that Team Secret can't get an angle from them in the northern side. But now here it is, the circle is about to pop up. Imperium, where might it take us? The field still has a pretty big point of pressure down south. Are we going to have a hard shift, or will it be an actual city? It does actually shift away from it. And now we talked about it, being on the edge of the city is huge. GXR, Celts, they have all of this game to their full advantage.
And I love the fact that TSM Entity and Reject Scarlet did not move from their compound position in the previous circles, because I know it is rare that it ends in a city, right? It is rare that it ends in Yasnaya or in the central part. Of course, it's occupying on the southwestern edge. We are going to see the teams on the northeast compound together as they go from building to building through the city.
Like you said, like, you know, urban finishes are rare, not on PMWL Imperium. Not on PMWL.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not pretty normal Imperium over here, but that's fine. But still, Yudu, they're taking their time because they know they're going to be pressured up. They need to try and use their bike if they can. But bikes at this stage of the game, with so many teams playing on the outskirts up the north, you got yourself Orange Rock, you got yourself Team IND, also Megastars, Team Secret, Reject Scarlet. So many teams will have an angle on that rotation. They've got to keep that in mind. But Team Secret slowly going to be coming down from the mountainside right into the compound of Reject Scarlet, trying to take pressure on that one.
They need to be aggressive. They need to take control and full send it in. Go hard or go home, Team Secret. You evolved, yes, yesterday. The grenades are flying through as Bew's going to push himself forward.
Team Secret, they're taking it very slow and they're pushing back Reject Scarlet. They didn't want to take this breach head on. The grenades come out there in a dip. That's going to be the big issue to deal with. Team Secret going to be jumping down, but now he's going to go in the water. Yurali drops down and can't really assist his team from up there. He might just get absolutely battered from the high ground. Bew now in a 1v2. They're in the smoke. They have no idea where they are. It's a game of hide and seek, ladies and gentlemen. The random sprays of Bew come out, will connect one knockdown, and that's all he will get in that trade-off. But still, where's Yurali? Got to try and join back.
Peekaboo, I see you. For the hands of Reject Scarlet's Team Secret push on forward. But at the end of the day, we do see Udo Gank eliminated at the hands of, I don't know exactly who it was, but they have been eliminated. Reject Scarlet do go down. Team Secret should hopefully be able to keep themselves up as a 3-man squad if they get the revive on the Rex.
You see the Team Secret, they got that rotation from the north, paying off compared to Udo because they went a little bit more focused on a later stage compared to Udo. We're trying to play a little bit more passive because they did not have the man advantage. So I do like how Team Secret tried to predict that movement. Now going to be going on teams trying to rotate in. And one team that's in a lot of trouble, we talked about it, right? That's T1 because they went in a center position. They need to force their way through 3 teams in Pyramid. That is insanely hard.
And because, you know, you can try and punish a team kind of going from building, but so hard. But now it's going to be the backstab by Megastars. They got a couple of kills onto a couple of members of Yadu early on, but now they're going to push forward onto Team Secret. Rex is knocked down. Mad Toy is knocked down. Bew trying to hold on. He's the last player standing as the 3 members up for Megastars. Push their way through, but Encore gets knocked. Do you want more?
IND are helping on this fight. They're actually going for the third party on Megastars. Now it's going to be turned into a 1v2 for Bew. Can he make things pay off? Vex is going to try and go for a little bit of flank. They want to surround Bew. As Bew with the smoke, mind game information on Paradox. They're hugging each other at this point. Imperium, they're so damn close. He gets the information.
Oh no!
Paradox, can he get it? He does get rid of Team Secret as they get eliminated in 11th position. That was close, goddammit.
They hugged each other before they fought, and in the end it went over to Megastars, but now we wrap over towards the outside of the circle on the eastern tip of Yaznai. You have the likes of No Chance. Yeah, BTR through the fields are going to have to go. It's going to be incredibly difficult because there's 3 to 4 teams inside Yaznai around them.
Bigatron playing really on the southern edge of Yaznai. They don't want to get involved with those buildings. They know some roaring fights are currently happening. It's not worth it. They want to keep pressures on Synergy down south to make sure they can't rotate from the south back into the circle in Yaznai fields.
What a way to start off the Super Weekend 1, Day 2 in Game 1. A wrangle ending towards the Yaznai No Chance team just clawing, fighting their way through these buildings.
Oh, that is huge from T1, the great smoke road. And now they're going to actually get themselves over to the edge of Yaznai, Pollyanna. That was so hard, yet they're able to pull it off successfully. I was not expecting that from T1.
Totally wasn't expecting, but they were aided by the fact that the likes of Team IND towards the north of them were not aggressive enough. As the members of RQ you see in the kill feed are knocking on the door of Synergy.
Bigatron, they got to try and make their way through these smokes, get some information on teams, because right now they're kind of blocking off their own visibility by doing so, and I think that might be a little bit risky later on down the line. But TSM Entity, they're taking control. They're the most central team in the circle right now. Can they end that losing spree and now get themselves their very first chicken dinner in this Super Weekend?
Oh, Snack says you want to throw a grenade. You peek too much. Missile, you're out of here. And now as the members of TIND try to create their own smoke path coming into the circle on the northern tip, they're going right into the hands of TSM Entity. We're on the side of the road. Shots are coming through from 420. OP onto Concept. Jonathan gets knocked down by Slayer, but Kratos is going to get punished.
Zico, this is the last member remaining, and he's got no HP for himself. You will heal up. With that med kit now, trying to potentially get Jonathan back on his feet as BTR, Bigatron Red Aliens get eliminated. 6 teams in just a snap of a finger. We just had a Thanos here, Imperium.
Hell to the yeah. If TSM can get those members revived up with those smokes, but Snacks could come in, stop them right in their tracks. Plus, towards the north of TSM, RQ has got to see them right on the side of the road. It's open as the next circle is about to close up on this Phase 7. We still have Galaxy Racer cells controlling the edge of Yaznai as No Chance team are eliminated.
I'm still genuinely surprised as to how SKT-T1 were able to make it away from Yaznai Pollyanna with so many teams around them. And actually now the team that was on the edge, GXR Sales, they're the team that are currently getting absolutely battered by the team teams around them. But now Team ID, they got that high ground position, they got the Harry Potter tower under control, and they got all the visibility that they want on RRQ Athena, taking a few shots. Nock were able to get the knock though.
I know the DP28 is a little bit slower firing rate, but you gotta make those shots count as a grenade is being fired up. TSMNT are still inside this game. They still have a chance to close out a strong result, but Galaxy Racer Cell are wiped off the board. We're down to 4 teams, 11 players left as the latest circle did shift back over to the west, favoring T1.
See, look at that TSM entity. Seagull, Jonathan, they're doing the plays. They're making the unthinkable thinkable. As now they're going to be taking this 2v1. But the third party from RRQ Athena gets snacked and gets rid of Team ID in 4th position. 3 teams now remaining. TSM entity, RRQ Athena, and T1.
Here's the thing, TSM don't mind that, because now that's exposed somewhat RRQ's positioning to TSM, but at the end of the day, RRQ are up as a 3-man team. You have T1 who've done a fantastic job. They are on the northern tip of the circle, prone down amongst the hay bales and the grass as a grenade is being fired up by Ernie. Will that be a Kobe connecting onto the members of T1? I think not, but I do believe he spotted out that member of TSM as Zegot goes down, leaving Jonathan left on his own.
One issue that I'm seeing currently coming out from T1, right? They're not spreading enough. They're all in one current location.
Yeah.
They need to try and take control down in the south to shut down the rotations up north and also on the east. I think that'll be the better way for them to take control of this phase 7 circle and a better way to take the game. Here it is, Jonathan. Despite being a one-man army, he takes the fight 1v3 versus RQ Athena. Hits one. Can he hit the second and third? We'll have to wait and see.
This is about time TSM entity woke up. It's about time Jonathan was unleashed as the beast as he gets the confirmation on the beer, leaving RRQ down to just 2 players, and all the while T1 are sitting pretty on the northern eastern edge of the circle, just waiting out, hearing those bullets fly up and seeing the kill feed light up, waiting for their opportunity.
This is a great spectacle for T1, but Jonathan pushing on forward, gives information away, but here he goes, ZZP, the scouter, the man who is the Falcon Eyes, gets the information, gets rid of TSM entity as they get eliminated in 3rd position. That is still a stonker game for TSM.
You talked about the redemption offer at T1. You talk about RQ continuing their aggression. These are the final 2 teams in this game 1 in Erangel in the open fields with a couple of hay bales to their advantage. The circle did shift over to RQ, so now T1 have to move.
RRQ going to have to try and hold that position, potentially try and split themselves a little bit more thinly as a 1-1, which they're currently doing, but especially Ernie's in a risky position, gets the intel onto Missile behind that crate, even CC on Trim, but they're getting prone so well. The Snakes coming into this game, that'll beat T1, and can they take this 3v2?
Here's the thing, it's not the fact that Ernie thinks that they're exactly there, but they're pre-firing shooting to push back, but that's going to be a lovely grenade, just takes a tickle of it, damage, but that does enough to give the opportunity for Ernie to get knocked down. So it becomes a 3v1 in the final moments. Can T1 close it out?
They need to go for the push right now. They get Ernie, they confirm the kill. Now it's turned into G9 in a 1v3 versus T1. Gets the intel to Missile, hits it. Now it's turned into a 1v2. He's breaking it so